The Ritual is a 2017 psychological thriller horror about a group of old college friends who go hiking in the Swedish countryside. Sounds pretty nice, doesn't it? Well, unfortunately for them, they end up going into the wilderness and something is stalking them. So in this video, I won't be giving anything away other than what happens within the first several minutes of the movie, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this movie suggestion. It starts out with a group of 5 friends: Luke, Phil, Hutch, Dom, and Robert. And these guys have been college friends since they were younger, and they are all grown up now except for Luke, who seems pretty stagnant. And that becomes pretty obvious within the first few minutes of his interactions with his friends. These 5 guys are at a bar, they're talking about where they should meet up later or go on vacation, and somebody suggests go hiking in Sweden. Luke suggests going to Amsterdam. Now, I'm no genius, but to me that kind of shows that, okay, Luke is the partier. These other guys, they have families and jobs, careers, responsibilities, that they can't just go out and party like they used to when they were 21, as one of his friends says. So after the bar, they head out and Luke spots a liquor store. Apparently Luke isn't done drinking. Luke wants one of his friends to go with him, and nobody really wants to go, but Robert's like, I'll go with you. So Luke and Robert head to the liquor store, and the other 3 guys are like, yeah, I'm not doing this. I'm calling an Uber. I gotta work tomorrow. These are level-headed guys. Luke is just still a kid in his brain. Luke and Robert start talking, and Luke is like, you weren't really serious about going hiking in Sweden, were you? And he said, yeah, I think it'd be fun. At this point, they notice the cashier on the ground, and 3 men come out of this room. 2 men are obviously the robbers, and 1 man they're demanding money from. Luke runs and hides at the end of the aisle, leaving Robert by himself. One of the robbers comes up to Robert and demands everything he has. Robert complies, he gives them everything he wants until he is told to give them his wedding ring. At this point, Robert said, no, you've done enough, now get out of here. Well, unfortunately for Robert, one of the robbers is really violent and hits him over the head with something. He falls, and at this point, him and Luke are making eye contact, and still Luke does nothing. Luke has held the bottle in a certain way, makes you feel like, okay, he's gonna come out, he's gonna defend his friend and save him because he just pretty much abandoned him. But he doesn't. Luke doesn't move, and he's hitting the head again, and it's pretty obvious that Robert didn't make it. We skip ahead 6 months, and the remaining friends, Phil, Hutch, Dom, and Luke, are camping in the Swedish countryside, or mountainside. We find out that the rest of the friends are not too fond of Luke. Hutch seems to stick up for him a little bit, but the other guys are just basically in the mindset that thanks to Luke's drunkenness and selfishness and cowardice, it caused them to lose their friend, Robert, who was just coming along to give him some company. So as they were hiking, Dom actually hurts his leg pretty good, and while he can walk on it, it's not broken, he injured it pretty bad. So they decide, instead of taking the long way around, to cut through the wilderness. His friend can walk well enough with a crutch or a cane, so he said, we'll just go straight through. Well, this is where their troubles begin. They first walk into the woods and notice there's an old rusted out van, which for it to be right there seems kind of odd, but they keep going anyway, and eventually they come across, now this is fake. Oh, it's a fake. Fake. Although I still hate when I see this in movies too, because I'm a big animal lover, but there's a deer or an elk or something sprawled out and gutted in the trees, just hanging there, and they're all thinking, what is going on?
It's been gutted. Could be hunters out here. Bait. It's a warning.
We shouldn't be here.
It's getting dark and they really should have been in town by now, and it's starting to rain, so they're like, okay, well, we gotta set up camp. They happen to run into this cabin in the middle of the woods and decide that's a good place to stay for the night.
Can you see anything? Empty. Well, we should leave it alone then. We need to get under cover, mate. Phil, give us a hand. We can't just break in. We can't stay out here all night. Luke, you're getting soaked.
Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear anything. Come on.
And they kind of, scope the place out. Actually, in the attic, someone discovers what appears to be a humanoid effigy. It looks like a headless thing with antlers for hands. So that's something pretty freaky to find. But they decide to stay there for the night because they just can't seem to make it into town no matter how much they walk. After everyone has settled in into their sleeping bags and is fallen asleep, Luke sees some bright light through the window, so he goes outside, and as he steps outside, it basically turns into a liquor store. Some freaky things happen, and when he awakes, he's outside in the woods outside of the cabin, and he has an injury on his chest. So he runs back inside. The other men are going through something as well. It seems like they're having horrible nightmares. One guy wet himself. No shame in that. Hey, I'm not judging. At this point, you can kind of think, okay, is someone hallucinating? Is it just a terrible dream and they all happen to have bad dreams? And that's one of the reasons why I like The Ritual so much, is it takes you along the story and it makes you think, well, you know, some weird stuff's happening, but I'm sure there's a logical explanation. Maybe it's just kind of mass hysteria.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
And going back, as I said, there is some hostility in the group after Robert's death, and after the events of this night, it kind of divides the group up even more so. Some men believe that it's supernatural, there's something weird going on that can't be explained, and others are like, you know, this is the real world, it can be explained, you just need to calm down. Now, if you want absolutely no idea what's going on, skip ahead about a minute. The creature, they do show. From my understanding, it has a lot to do with Norse mythology, and so that's pretty cool. But the creature itself looks like a huge elk made out of human body parts, which doesn't make sense, but if you watch it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So I do really suggest this movie if you are into something that's a little more subtle. Now, near the end, it's not so subtle. In the end, it's a little more in your face. During the time being, if you're into more of a psychological thriller, I think this will really work for you. But it does pay off in the end. Like I said, they do show the creature, and I really appreciate that fact. As I said, though, they did take a lot from Norse mythology. It's hard to say. Norse mythology. It's hard for me to say anyway. My brain knows what to say, my mouth just isn't cooperating, that's all. But if you're looking for a great, fun film, I do 100% recommend The Ritual. While it is a horror film, a creature feature, there's a lot more to it, a lot of psychological stuff. Things that I think people can really relate to, not just for survivors' guilt, but also just guilt in general. I'm sure every single one of us can think of something that we wish we had done or said or whatever in the past to fix the present right now. And living with that guilt is punishment in and of itself. And so there were a lot of times during this movie I thought maybe this is more of a PTSD deal. Maybe this is just they're just so psychologically injured and impaired at this moment that they're just kind of reading into things. But it has a lot to do with real world stuff, as in, as I said, the guilt. And guilt will eat away at you. And there are a lot of scenes where I thought, well, maybe he's just kind of in a downward spiral, or maybe he's in hell, because if you're reliving the most horrible thing in your life over and over again, that is hell. Really great cast, great acting, great writing, and it's while it doesn't seem very subtle in some scenes that you might watch, there is a subtlety to it that I personally really respect and appreciate. If you have seen The Ritual, please leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments, of course. And if you haven't seen it, please watch it and come back and give me your thoughts. And this video is sponsored by nobody. Actually, it's sponsored by you. I really appreciate you so much. Every little comment, I do try to reply to all your comments and suggestions and questions as much as I possibly can. And I really do appreciate you. I really do. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a good day. Bye.
What a beautiful story.